The day we buried my father, I saw him standing across the street, alive, watching us. Then he disappeared. Growing up, my dad was a hero. He wore the badge with pride. Every morning he'd kiss my mum, ruffle my hair, and head out to protect the city. People respected him. Kids in school thought it was cool my dad was a cop. But to me, he was more than that. He was my protector, my best friend. Until everything fell apart. One night he didn't come home. Police knocked on our door saying he died in a warehouse fire during a drug bust. I remember my mum's scream. They said there was an explosion. His body was burned beyond recognition. DNA tests matched, or so they claimed. We buried an empty casket. I was 15. A week after the funeral, I saw someone in a hoodie watching our house. I thought I was going crazy. Then on my way to school I saw him again. Same build, same way of standing, same scar on his hand. My dad, was he alive? I told Mum. She broke down again, said I was in denial, but I knew what I saw. I started investigating. I found one of his old friends from the force, Uncle Ray. He looked at me, long and quiet, then said, "Maybe your dad wasn't who you thought he was." I hacked into Dad's old laptop. Most files were encrypted, but one folder was open, backup identity. Inside were scans of IDs with different names. Passports, a document titled Exit Strategy. What the hell? That same night I saw him again. This time, he was close. I chased him down the alley. He turned around. It was him. Dad! He stared at me for 2 seconds, then ran. I confronted Uncle Ray. He gave in. Your dad was undercover, deep, for years, but at some point he crossed a line. What line? He stopped reporting in, took money from both sides. When the heat came, he disappeared, burned everything, faked his death. So he left us too. To protect you, or to save himself. I don't know. I was shaking. My hero was a ghost, a criminal, a coward. I started tracking him, found patterns. He visited our street every few months, always in a hoodie, always hiding. Then I saw him near Mom's job. He dropped an envelope into her mailbox, disappeared again. I stole it. Inside, cash, $10,000, and a note. Sorry, that's all. 10 grand and sorry. I decided I needed answers. I left a note where I knew he'd see it. Meet me or I go to the police. He showed up. He looked older, tired, haunted. Why? Why did you leave us? He said nothing. Then, because I killed someone innocent. If I stayed, you'd never be safe. And faking your death was the answer? He looked away. The system I believed in broke me. I ran before it swallowed you too. He asked me not to tell anyone, but I did. He was arrested the next day. Mum cried for days, but strangely, I felt relief. Because at least now the ghost was gone, and we could finally bury the truth. Moral: sometimes the people we trust the most are hiding the darkest secrets. And closure doesn't come from the past. It comes from facing it. After that call, I couldn't sleep. My thoughts raced. Why would my dad fake his death? What was he hiding? What kind of man would do that to his wife? To his daughter? The next morning, I told Mum I was heading to school, but instead I skipped class and took the first train to New Jersey. It was a long ride. I sat with my hoodie up, heart pounding, phone clenched in my hand. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even my best friend. I needed to find answers. I arrived in a small, quiet town just outside Newark. The streets were clean, quiet, too quiet. I walked for nearly an hour before I found the address the caller had given me. It was a modest white house, neat lawn, wind chimes on the porch. Normal, way too normal. I stood across the street for a few minutes. My legs were shaking. I wanted to run, but I'd come too far. Then the door opened, and there he was, my dad, alive, wearing jeans, a flannel shirt, and carrying a coffee mug that said, "World's Best Dad." The irony nearly made me puke. I froze. He glanced across the street at me, and for a moment I thought he didn't recognize me. But then his face dropped. The color drained. He knew exactly who I was. "Kayla," he whispered. My legs moved on their own. I ran across the street and just stood there in front of him. "Hi, Dad," I said, my voice shaking. "Did you miss me?" He looked like he'd seen a ghost. I couldn't tell if he was happy to see me or terrified. "Kayla, what are you doing here?" he asked, stepping outside and glancing around nervously. "I could ask you the same thing," I snapped. "You're supposed to be dead." He sighed deeply, then looked behind him. "Come inside, please." I hesitated. Every survival instinct told me not to, but I needed answers. I walked inside. The house smelled like coffee and pine cleaner, cozy, safe, like a lie. There were family photos on the wall, not of us, a woman, 2 younger kids, a whole new family. "Who are they?" I asked coldly. He swallowed. "That's my family." I stared at him in disbelief. "You replaced us." He sat down, ran his hands through his greying hair. "It's not like that, Kayla." "No, because it sure looks like that. You left us, faked your death, let us grieve, and started over like we never existed." He looked up at me, eyes wet. "I did it to protect you." That line, that pathetic line, I lost it. "To protect me," I shouted. "You think disappearing, letting Mum believe she was a widow, was protecting us?" He flinched. "I was in deep, Kayla. I was investigating a corrupt group of cops once, working with criminals. Drug trafficking, money laundering, murder. And when I got too close, they came after me. You should have come to us." "I couldn't. They would have come after you too. I had no choice. I had to go underground." "So why didn't you ever come back? Why not tell us the truth once it was safe?" He looked down. His silence said everything. "Because it was easier," I whispered bitterly. "You didn't want to be a dad anymore." He didn't argue. That hurt the most. I stood up to leave. "I came here for answers. I got them. You're just a coward." He grabbed my wrist gently, but firm. "Kayla, wait." I shook him off. "No, you chose them. That's your life now, but you don't get to pretend you loved us when you abandoned us." As I stormed toward the door, it burst open, and 2 men rushed in, pointing guns. "Get down!" My heart stopped. Dad tackled me to the ground just as shots rang out. He pulled out a gun from under the couch. How cliché, and returned fire. I crawled behind the kitchen island, adrenaline roaring. "What the hell is happening?" "Stay down," Dad shouted. The 2 men were shouting something in Spanish. One of them yelled, "Grab the girl." My blood ran cold. They were here for me. Somehow, we made it out. My dad had a hidden passage behind the fireplace. Seriously, what is this? A movie? And we escaped through the woods into an old shed. I was shaking, covered in dirt and tears. What was that? Who were they? He looked at me, serious now. The people I ran from, they found me, and now they know about you. He took a deep breath. Now I stopped running. The next few days were chaos. He made calls to old contacts. We moved between safe houses. He finally admitted he had evidence recordings, documents enough to take down the entire dirty cop ring. I never stopped gathering proof, he said, even while I was gone. And then he did something that shocked me. He gave me the evidence. If something happens to me, he said, you take this to the FBI. Tears welled up in my eyes. Don't say that. I have to go back and finish this, but now you know the truth. You know why I did what I did. I hugged him tightly, the first time in years. Just come back, please. He didn't come back. Not right away. Weeks passed. I went back to school, tried to act normal, but I kept checking my messages every hour. Then one morning, a letter arrived. It was short. The case is closed. Justice is done. You were always my brave girl. Dad? No return address, no signature, just closure. Sort of. Epilogue. A year later, I stood in front of a grave. Not his old fake grave, a real one, with his real name. They found his body in a motel outside Chicago, gunshot to the chest. No one claimed it, no funeral, no headlines. But I was there. I left a small photo of me and Mum from before on the grave. And a note. You broke us, but I forgive you, and I'll make sure your truth lives on. Then I walked away. Maybe one day I'll tell the world his story, but for now, this is just for me. I wish I could say things calmed down after that night, but they didn't. In fact, they only got worse. After the raid, Dad stayed home for a few days. No badge, no gun, no job. He spent most of his time locked in his office, drinking, staring at the same folder, the one I wasn't supposed to see. But of course I did. I waited until he left to buy more whiskey, then I snuck in. Inside the folder, there were photos of people I recognized. Gang members, dealers, even our neighbor, Mr. Tran, the friendly guy who always gave out candy to kids on Halloween. I never thought he'd be involved. But then I saw it. A photo of me. Taken through my bedroom window. Chills ran down my spine. Later that night, I confronted Dad. Why is there a photo of me in that folder? He froze. The bottle of whiskey slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. Where did you see that? His voice wasn't angry, it was scared. Dad, what is this? Why are there photos of me of other people in a folder next to criminals? He rubbed his face, sat down on the couch like the weight of the world just crushed him. I was protecting you. By spying on me? No, he said, softer, by keeping you away from the people who wanted to hurt us. And then, like the dam finally broke, he told me everything. Years ago, when he was still a rookie, he took a bribe, a small one, he said, just once. But once was enough. They had him after that. They made him look away. They made him protect shipments. They made him do things no good cop should ever do. And when he tried to leave, they threatened me. They said if I didn't cooperate, he whispered, they'd send you pieces of her in the mail. I wanted to throw up. Everything I believed about my dad, his job, his rules, his honor, it all shattered in that moment. But here's the thing. I didn't hate him. I hated what he did, but I saw the pain in his eyes. I saw a man who made one mistake and then kept making more just to keep me alive. I should have run, called the police, reported everything, but I didn't. Instead, I said something that still haunts me. Then let's fix it. We spent weeks preparing, mapping out connections, names, locations. Dad still had contacts, good cops who owed him favors, people who were sick of the corruption. We weren't just trying to expose a gang. We were going after everyone involved. And that's when things went to hell. One morning, I woke up and smelled smoke. I ran downstairs and our kitchen was on fire. I grabbed a towel, trying to smother the flames, but they were too strong. Dad wasn't home. I barely escaped before the whole place went up in flames. Hours later, he showed up, bloody, bruised, barely breathing. They know, he coughed. They know we're coming for them. We had to leave. We packed what little we had left, got in his old undercover car, and drove for hours. For a few days, we lived out of motels. Dad made calls, secret ones. But someone always found us. One night, we woke up to find a bullet hole through our window, right above my pillow. That was the last straw. We went to someone Dad said we could trust, his old partner, Detective Ramirez. Ramirez had always seemed like a straight shooter. I remembered him from when I was a kid. He used to bring me candy and show me magic tricks. We waited in an empty parking lot. And when Ramirez pulled up, something felt off. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't happy to see us. He got out slowly, hand on his hip. And then I saw it. Behind him, 2 more cars. Men stepped out, not cops, definitely not friends. Dad cursed under his breath. They got to him. Ramirez raised his hands. It doesn't have to end like this, Mike. My dad stepped in front of me, shielded me. You were like a brother to me, he said, but I'm not letting you touch her. I don't want her, Ramirez replied. I just want the files. Dad shook his head. Too late, they're already out. Ramirez laughed. No, they're not, and you know it. And then bang. It all happened so fast. Dad lunged. Gunshots exploded. I don't remember screaming, but my throat burned. Blood, sirens, smoke. I remember grabbing my dad's hand. He was on the ground, bleeding badly. He looked up at me and smiled. I'm sorry, he whispered. Don't be, I cried. You tried. Police showed up. Real ones this time. Turns out Dad did manage to send the files just before meeting Ramirez. Everything came crashing down. Dozens of arrests, internal investigations, a full-blown media circus. They called my dad a hero. But to me, he was still just Dad. He survived. Barely. He's in witness protection now. I don't know where. We're not allowed to talk. Sometimes I get postcards with no return address. Just one word on the back. Safe. As for me, I moved far away, changed my name, started over. But I still sleep with the lights on. I still flinch when I hear tires screech outside. And sometimes I think about that first photo I found, the one of me, taken through the window. And I wonder, how long had they been watching me? And are they still?